And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the end of week 6. Oh my gosh, only 2 more weeks to go. Very exciting. Let's see. You know what? I wanted to start with, because I felt really cruddy this week, not sick-wise, but I just need a little pick-me-up. So let's go around, and if you can think of one positive thing that happened this week that you would like to share, I would love to hear it. So I will start, and then I'll pick the next person. So for me, my oldest son and I, he has to do this recording for a competition, blah, blah, blah. And he and I were both just kind of nervous about it and getting anxious about it. And so we got everything set up and the microphone and et cetera, et cetera. And then he was freaking out a little bit because he has to like introduce himself and talk about the piece that he's playing and et cetera, et cetera. And then we just had, it's really hard to explain the joke, but we had a really great like laugh about it, and it really cleared the air and it helped him play better. And it's just a really nice like mother-son moment. So that is my happy thing that happened this week. Super nice.
Nice.
Let's see, I'll pass it to Dee.
I had really, I had 2 like, I guess, phone screen / interviews this week, and they were really pleasant. Like, just speaking with the people, I wasn't very nervous with my interviewers. They were very laid back, very welcoming. And I found myself laughing a lot more than I would expect to like laugh and enjoy an interview. So it was just a good experience overall.
Awesome.
Nice.
I'll pass it to Rachel.
I guess mine is the freelance website that I've been working on since July. Finally went live and is now launched, and the client really liked it. So
it is so
Very
cute.
nice.
Thanks.
So adorable.
I'll pass it to Mike.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I guess it would be work related. There's a tech debt item that's been there since I started at the company. It's been like something that we've been trying to upgrade AG Grid for a really like 2 years. And we're finally like on the cusp of doing it. And I think, I think the end of the sprint will, merge that thing in. So that'll be exciting. Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go, Brittany.
Well, I started the new job this week, so that was exciting. Lots of ups and downs. It was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, but most of the downs were me getting in my own head. And every time I would like stop and ask questions and ask for support, I got an excess of it, and that was really great. And always came away feeling better for it. So lots of good moments.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Viet.
So most of us, I don't know about Dee since you're in Florida, but most of us are in this weird Arctic storm and it's really cold out. So I was walking to campus earlier today, and one of my friends was driving by in his car, and he's like, "You want to ride? It's only like 3 blocks, but it's probably better than just walking in the cold." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." So that was nice to so have a friend pick me up and take me the rest away.
Nice. Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah,
you're the last person.
I think that's me. One positive thing that happened this week is I'm a big Blues fan, the St. Louis Blues, the hockey team. And they had like I want to say it was like a 5-game losing streak, and it was all against the same team. They've just been playing the Coyotes again and again and again and again. They played, this was like the 7th game, and they finally won. So it was great to see them win like 4-1. That was an uplifting moment for me this week.
Nice. Excellent.
It was a hard week though for me, and it's great that I have this external group of people who I can like attribute my own good feelings to when they succeed. It's the great thing about sports.
That is true. Very true. All right, thank you everyone. It's really nice to hear everyone's good things. All right, I think we're ready for demos. So who would like to volunteer to go first this week?
Dee, should we go first?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. I will share my
All right.
screen. Okay, and can everyone see the list here?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so this week we added a delete functionality. So we have a button that is dynamically generated with each list item. And when the user clicks on the delete button, they'll get a confirmation pop-up. So they can, if they accidentally clicked on that, it won't immediately delete it. If you click cancel, nothing should happen. Your list should stay the same. When you hit OK, you should see that item disappear. And this is what a successful delete looks like, but we did also add error handling. So I'm just going to briefly comment out or uncomment one line and then comment out another line, and we should be able to see what will happen if we have an unsuccessful delete. We get that nice error message. And Dee's going to talk about some of the decisions we made along the way and some of the updates we made based on the great feedback we got.
Yeah, so initially inside of the list component, we handled all of the logic to delete an item inside of our confirm delete function. And this also required us to create a separate state for handling an error with deleting an item. But Mike suggested that we might as well just use the use state hook and just add a delete functionality inside of that hook. So that's where we just took all of that code logic, created a delete doc function, and added it to the use state. And that way we're able to use the already error state in the use state. So we could just update the error message from there if there's an error, instead of creating a whole separate use state and then calling on that error component twice inside list. You only call on it once if there's an error. So it just cleans up the code in it. To me, it makes it more simple to read. So that's just one of the big changes that we made, thanks to Mike.
Good stuff.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, we had some great feedback this week, and also thank you for helping us figure out. I think everyone had suggestions on what we could do to cause an error, so that we could see what that looked like. So
that was actually really good, because we were like, we don't know how to simulate an error right now. So yeah, Chris and Lauren also gave us suggestions on that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Of course. Oh my gosh, that is such a good demo. Like Dee, you talked through the code so beautifully. It was just 100% smooth. It was an excellent, excellent demo.
Thank you.
Nice job, both of you. Yeah. Cool. Other people have questions?
What did you do to get the error to trigger?
We used Chris's suggestion to throw a new error, and we just we commented out the actual functionality to delete an item. So you're not actually deleting inside the try, you are just throwing an error. So it's just going to jump right into the catch.
Cool.
And there's also this excellent timeout. So that error message will go away after a little bit, which I think in the future, we want to kind of check in with the rest of the team and see, is that how we want it to work? Or maybe do we want to change that up? But this was a really good way to resolve that for the time being. Any other?
I've got a question. Yeah, I've got a question about the set timeout. I was messing with some set timeouts earlier in React this week, and I learned some stuff about how to clean up the set timeout whenever the component unmounts. So y'all will notice there that we do the set error message in the set timeout. So if this component unmounts, but then the set timeout fires, it'll try to update the state of an unmounted component, which React will throw a warning about. So does anyone know how you can cancel a set timeout is my pop quiz.
Think back to what you did. I'm thinking like the first week. I want to
Oh,
say.
that's so long ago. What did we do the first week?
Something about like subscribing and unsubscribing, I'm thinking.
Yes. So do we include like a subscribe and unsubscribe in this delete doc function?
I think that would be a good interface in order to pass something back to the consumer of the function so that they can end up calling the cleanup function in the correct place. The way that you would do that is with this window method called clear timeout.
Yeah.
So clear timeout takes an ID, and the ID is the integer that is returned by set timeout. So you capture the value, and then in the callback that you would be providing as a return value, you would then call clear timeout with that ID. But yeah, I spent like an hour busting my head against that, trying to figure out why is my style guide example throwing this warning about state, and then I figured it out. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
I feel like cleanup is one of the really often overlooked things. Yeah, and it usually isn't a pain until it is a big pain.
Exactly. Nice. All right. Thank you both. Excellent demo. Rachel and Viet.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay, so for our issue this week, we were tasked with sorting the list in terms of how likely you're going to need to buy an item again, so that it's clear to know what I need to buy soon. So as you can see, our list is ordered in terms of the times until next purchase from the top, and then the inactive ones at the bottom based on whether or not it's been purchased 2 or less times. And then we added the distinct background colors to designate the different states of it. In terms of the greens are need to buy soon, so fewer than 7 days. Need to buy kind of soon, between 7 and 30 are our peach puffs. And then the light blues are the coconut and pineapple there. They're greater than 30 days. And then inactives are our gray ones. And now I'll turn it over to Viet to talk a little bit more about our sorting.
Yeah, so you can see that they are sorted, like Rachel said, by the time to next purchase days. But in the instance where the days are the same, we sort them alphabetically. So coconut before pineapple. These are out of order because this has 16 days till purchase versus 17 days till purchase. One of the other things that we implemented for accessibility was something that Lauren suggested for a more descriptive, I guess, string for the screen reader. So you can see in the HTML here that we are giving the item name and it's ready to purchase, and the return from our can't remember the name of the function right now, but the return from the background color, yeah, function. So you can see that coconut, for instance, here does not need to be purchased. So coconut ready to purchase not too soon. And for the inactive items like bread here, it's a bread ready to purchase. It's inactive because the inactive items have been bought less than 2 times, basically. And yeah, that's basically what we did. Do you all have any questions for us?
I just want to say I like the color scheme that you went with in order to make the text more readable on the background. That's a nice improvement for sure.
Thanks. And yeah, thanks for suggesting that, both Lauren and Chris, for suggesting, that was definitely harder to read when we had the darker background colors. And yeah, Rachel for finding, everybody's favorite color right now, which was peach puff.
Peach puff.
I also, they're like pastels, all of them, they go well.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Something that you may want to think about when it comes to the upcoming like design work and stuff that we're going to be thinking about is like, if you want to keep this color scheme, or if you want to like change the app's color scheme, or if there's any like information that you can even communicate to the user through the colors that you're choosing. Because I actually was like, so the item that I need to buy the soonest is green. Usually green means like, don't worry about this thing in computing language. Whereas like yellow and then to red means like, oh, you might need to worry about this thing soon. And I was like, oh, I wonder what color language that we can like speak to our users here. So
yeah, I did wonder about that, but I wondered if, because I know red is usually an error. So I didn't know if we should not use red because like, you don't want the user to be like, uh-oh, I did something wrong. So that was my only like consideration with that.
For sure, yeah.
I have a question. So in the ARIA label, it says like the item name and then ready to purchase. Does the ready to purchase mean it's unchecked? Like when it's checked, does it still say ready to purchase?
Yes, I think even if it's checked, it'll say ready to purchase.
Okay.
So yeah, it's we can test it out right now, I think. Yeah. So coconut ready to purchase kind of soon because of the time. It's based on the time frame here.
So maybe we want to change that. Do you like, is what you're kind of getting at, like need to purchase?
Because I'm thinking like if it's being read to someone, to me that would say like you can purchase this thing. Not even if like, but if it's checked, you've already purchased it.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Did you test it actually with a screen reader? Because it's interesting what it does read to you, because it will tell you, it tells you the state of the checkbox. It'll say if it's checked. It says, hey, I'm on a checkbox, it's checked. And then it does read out the ARIA label.
We attempted to use a screen reader and then it was really busy. And so we're like, I think maybe we can show it in the HTML here during the presentation. So that's kind of as far as we got. It was like kind of unsettling in a way using the screen reader.
Yeah, it is really, it's challenging. It's challenging when it's not your primary way of navigating the web. And it is really, it's super eye-opening to what people who navigate the web with some kind of device as opposed to with their eyes, right? What they're experiencing. But it does give you that information. It says like, okay, this is checked. And it does take a lot of practice to listen. It goes really fast and gives you a ton of stuff.
I just wanted to say, I know there was kind of a conversation about how to organize and how to have the colors appearing. And I liked that was a discussion, and I like the direction that you decided to go. I think it looks really nice and clean, and it's easy to look at and kind of see how things are organized.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Rachel, I don't know if you want to talk about that extra helper function a little bit, or you did in the pull requests, but that's kind of like what I think the last piece that we were missing to get the ordering.
Oh yeah, to be able to get the inactive status, because before, like, I know you guys had commented and we didn't obviously want that behavior where it had like some grays in the middle of there because it was only looking at the estimated time. So then by being able to look at whether or not it's inactive or not, meaning less purchase to one or less times. So then we were able to look at that as a Boolean of true false, and then also sort with that.
Great. And that gets called first in the sorted list, I guess, function that we're calling here. And we were struggling with that for a little bit, and Rachel kind of like had insight on that and fixed it up.
Good job with the sorts. I feel like that's a really difficult method to deal with. So very good. Yeah.
Thanks. And Warren, I think we definitely fought with the switch statement at first, just not understanding it. And we're like, I'm not sure if this is any easier,
I
but
had to look
it
it up
definitely
too.
cleans it up.
I had to look it up too. I was like, I know that there's a way to do it, and I'm not sure how to do it. So I found that article. I was like, oh yeah, that's how we can manage it.
Thank you.
And that's totally personal preference too. Some people will not prefer a switch statement. I know when I get too many ifs and if else's, I do like to have a switch statement.
Mhm.
Cool. Looks great. It looks really,
Yeah.
really good.
Yay!
Nice work, y'all.
Awesome. All right. I think we're ready for retro. Pass that off to Mike.
Cool. All right. So we've got our retro board. Let's take, let's say 6 minutes and work on our retro cards. Yeah. Okay, we'll do 1 more minute. All right. Is everyone ready? Yeah?
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's see. Dee, why don't you start us off?
So first, I just want to give props to Rachel and Viet for doing such an amazing job on what to me looked like a really difficult issue. It seemed really challenging, but you guys did really good with it and produced amazing code. So I just think that you guys deserve a little round of applause because it was just awesome to see what you guys did. And then thank you to Lauren for helping me with my take-home project. I really, really, really appreciated it. You even wrote up a whole Google Doc and I really wasn't expecting that at all. I was just expecting you to look at it and say, oh, this looks good or this looks bad. But you took the time to craft some amazing tips, and it was just I don't know, it made me feel really supported. So I really appreciate that. And thank you to just all of the mentors for all of your help. Every week you're always helping us, but this week with providing us ways to create a fake error, or also with what to do with the delete function and the use state hook. It was just really, really good information, really good resources, and I just really appreciate all of you. And then, so this is kind of outside of what we do in Collab Lab, but every time I meet up with Brittany, she always asks about how I'm doing outside of Collab Labs, and it's really easy to talk to her. So thank you, Brittany, for just being just so personable, friendly, easy to talk to, and you're just not so focused on the task at hand. You want to know how I'm actually doing, so I really like that.
Nice. Cool. All right. Brittany.
Well, I just want to say, ditto. Thank you so much, Dee. I feel this way with everyone where I feel like this is really a group of friends and we all care about each other and care that we're doing it. I didn't write this, but just in response to what Dee said, it's just such a wonderful place to come together. I always enjoy meeting up with everyone to work on projects, and it's really nice getting to know all of you and more about your lives and what's going on. I totally lost my page, but I think it's there on the screen. I'm seeing the screen share. Just thank you to everyone for asking how my week is going, my first week at work. It's a big, scary step, and there were a lot of ups and downs, and it was so nice to know that I had all of you to talk to and share with, and I really appreciated knowing that support was there. Dee, you were awesome. Thank you so much for being flexible. I had no idea what my schedule was going to be like, and there was a day where I just we had made plans to meet up and it was getting late, and I think we were both trying to eat dinner, and you suggested rescheduling, and I was just oh my gosh, thank you so much for being just willing to be flexible. I really appreciated that. And office hours was really fun. We got to, we shared portfolios and we talked about projects, and it was just really cool seeing what everyone was working on, and I really enjoyed that. So thanks for sharing. It's always like a little bit vulnerable, and so it's really wonderful when people are, you know, open to sharing and showing what they've worked on, and we all get to see, and it's really cool. So that's
Nice. Yeah, I definitely I liked seeing everyone's portfolio sites. I was very impressed. Yeah. I forgot that I was screen sharing while I was writing this one, by the way. So so thanks to Viet, or I'm not sure who was getting all the coconut. But thank you for making me think about pina coladas. And we did actually have pina coladas on Friday, which is my wife's birthday. So thank you. All right, Chris.
Yeah, +1 to what Brittany said about it being like vulnerable and even intimidating, you know, to share your work and your personal portfolios with everyone. So just kudos to y'all for doing that, and for also having really cool, great personal sites. Like, I wasn't sure when I asked that question if y'all were just going to be like, what, you can make a website for yourself? But like, y'all had like a bunch of great stuff. So awesome work. Also, just thanks to everyone for the flexibility and understanding, because I had to reschedule office hours because I've had some headache problems this week. So just appreciate that. I also really liked how y'all included test lists, like with the seed phrase and everything, so that I could test it on my machine. Like, that was a really thoughtful thing. And I love when my coworkers do that for me and think about, okay, how can I make it easier for this other person to test my work? So like, great job, keep doing that for sure. And also, I threw this one at the very end, but thanks, Lauren, for helping to focus us on positivity at the start of the meeting. I really appreciated that. And I think a lot of us had challenging weeks. So I think that was really well timed. So thank you.
Yeah, +1. That. All right, Viet.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks to Rachel for being an awesome partner this week and understanding about my time constraints. You know, it sounded like we all had, you know, sort of a rough week, most of us anyways. Thanks to Brittany for sharing your experience about your new job. That was, you know, I think we're all like really proud of you, and you're gonna do well there. Dee for her comments on the PR, and also helping to explain like, well, why is it erroring here? And just like, it errors everywhere. But yeah, that's thanks for pointing that out and helping me understand that. And Lauren for, like I said, nudging us towards the switch statements, which we did not want to do at all. But I'm glad we did, because you know, it did clean up the code, and it's just kind of good to get out of your comfort zone and learn something new. Chris for the office hours. Also, I didn't write this down, but I was feeling kind of down about this interview thing that this coding task that I had to do for an interview. And Chris is like, look, they don't expect you to finish it. I didn't finish it, but I did, you know, get partial answers on a couple of them. So thanks for, you know, just like being encouraging about that. And Mike, of course, like the pina colada joke, and yeah, just like being honest about having a difficult week also.
Cool. Nice, thanks. All right, Lauren.
Yeah. So Mike and Chris, I just want to thank you again. It's just a real pleasure to work with both of you. You're excellent mentors, so reliable and so smart and so nice. And I'm learning a ton from both of you. And I just really feel so glad to work with both of you. And then I think that I'm saying what a lot of other people are saying. I just hooray to the team for being so good and supportive to one another. It's really clear that you care for each other and you want the best for each other, and that's really important. So I'm really feeling that. So good job, everyone.
Cool. Yeah. All right, Rachel.
Thanks to all the mentors and Brittany and Dee for the great PR comments this week. They're really helpful. Thanks, Lauren, for that extra guidance on reworking the switch case. Like Viet said, I am glad that we did it, even though out of our comfort zone, it was a good thing. thanks to Viet for the clear communication throughout the week. And I know you were really busy, but being willing to go above and beyond our AC and work on making those little improvements. Thanks to Chris for the helpful advice during office hours. You know, we talked about jobs and interviews and like being a new employee, like kind of in time with Brittany, and it was really great. And then yeah, thanks Brittany, Chris, and Viet for sharing your personal websites.
Great. Yeah. Okay. The last two are mine. So thank you, Chris and Lauren. I'm finding that a lot of really, really great comments and learning a lot, but specifically around accessibility, because it's something that I feel that in my current role, we don't really consider it at all. And it's something that I want to learn a lot more about. And so I feel like I've been doing that. And also thank you to everyone for just being understanding. I felt like, you know, Thursday rolled around, I was just saying, holy moly, I haven't looked at or checked in on anything. So I appreciate the consideration there. Yeah. So really great week. Let's talk about what went well. Dee?
Yeah, I wrote this really fast because we were running out of time. But this is specifically for Brittany and I. I think we did a really good job working around our schedules and just kind of being super graceful to each other because we're both busy, but I know Brittany was really busy and trying to figure out her schedule for her job. So I think we communicated if we couldn't meet up or if something was in the way or something, we're really on it and telling each other like this is the situation we're in. So that went really well.
Nice. Brittany?
Yeah, +1 to what Dee just said. And also I just want to acknowledge, you know, everybody really focuses on finding things to praise and talking about what we've all done well and really encouraging and supporting each other. But we also are, I think, challenging each other to go a step further and do a little better and to grow. And so that's really nice that there's been a really good balance of that encouragement and that acknowledgement of what we've done well, but also then pushing us to do more and learn more. So I appreciate that.
Nice. And Chris?
Yeah, just felt like this week both pairs got off to the races really quick, and as a result, y'all had a lot of time, I think, to make code and accessibility improvements. So just great hustle and good job, honestly. I also feel like there were some weeks where we kind of had like some Git difficulties, but I felt like this week there was like no issues with Git. And so I was just really happy and proud to see that y'all are like learning and like, you know, getting used to the source control workflows. So nice job.
Great. And Viet?
Yeah, I think the entire team is continuing to communicate well and share ideas through, you know, Slack and the pull requests. And the feedback on the pull requests are, you know, we're really helpful in getting us to get our code more concise and readable, like, you know, with the switch statements and Chris during office hours, just making those returns, like kind of like one-lining those conditions with the returns and everything. So it looks, I think it looks great.
Yeah, for sure. Rachel?
This is kind of an ongoing one, but I think it's going well. As we've been working on our issues, like we have acknowledged that styling is a future task, and I feel like we've done a good job of doing only a minimal amount right now, so that these next 2 weeks we won't feel like we're, you know, removing a lot or feel like you spend a lot of time on code that's just going to have to be reworked.
Yeah, I think it's in a very good shape for the upcoming tasks. So yeah.
Yep.
Lauren?
Yeah, I would just say this is really similar to what Brittany was saying, but I think that everyone, in addition to giving positive feedback and constructive feedback, everyone's been super gracious about accepting that feedback. It really is a hard skill. It's something that's hard for me personally. And I've just been really impressed by how you all handle it. I think that you're doing a great job with following up on feedback on PRs specifically, and that you are just really quick to jump on PRs and moving through the pull request cycle very quickly. And that's just a great skill. And the way that you're communicating is so valuable in a remote team, especially. You have to be much more intentional about that kind of communication. And you're all practicing those skills and doing a great job. So good job.
Great, thanks, Lauren. And yeah, I think this has kind of been said, but I feel like the acceptance criteria was nailed pretty early on. So a lot of the work this week was, just going above and beyond, which was really cool. Yeah. All right, improvements. Viet?
Yeah, sorry. It's just kind of, it was hard for me. It's been hard for me to think about improvements because like it's been, it's been like a great positive experience for all of us.
Nice. And Chris?
Yeah, this one it's not like something that quote needs to be improved, but it's just something that I kind of want to like point out is that I think next week is going to be a really, this upcoming week is going to be a really unique challenge because the group is going to need to set their own pace and kind of dictate like what needs to occur. So just good luck. We'll see what happens.
Nice. And Lauren?
Yeah, I think I'm saying the exact same thing basically as Chris. Like the next 2 weeks are a different kind of work than what you've done so far in Collab Lab. But know that you all have the skills to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Just rely on those communication skills. It's about like planning and working together, making decisions, and deciding like task breakdown. But I feel like you all are really ready to do that. And again, this isn't really something that can be improved. It's just kind of a reminder again. And I couldn't think of any of things that really need to be improved either, because you're all doing such a great job.
Yeah. I didn't add anything in there, and so yeah. All right. Well, that would conclude our retro. And great job. Yeah. Really
Nice.
good retro.
Nice retro. Awesome. And I think, oh, go ahead. Yeah, Brittany.
I was just going to say, if we just refuse to do the last issue, can this continue on forever? Because I don't really want this to end.
Exactly.
You just have to keep filing issues.
Yeah.
You just I'm sorry, you're not done. You can't leave. But that's a good reminder. Quick before we segue into Chris covering this issue that covers the last 2 weeks, that Collab Lab is working on creating something called the Career Lab, which is going to be a 2-week extension of the Collab Lab. So we are kind of pioneering that effort this time around. So if you are interested in participating, and again, it's free, it's not a super big time commitment, but it will benefit you in terms of resume and LinkedIn review and preparation. You'll be able to practice interviews. And I don't know all of the details because I'm not participating in this part of it, but I will link again on our Slack to that information, but you'll want to let them know if you'd like to participate. Yeah, Chris.
Cool. Let me get my screen share in here and we'll talk about this upcoming, I guess, 2-week period and the issues. So issue number 13 is pretty open-ended. It is basically, we want to make the app look as professional and welcoming as we can, and really kind of clean up and improve the design of the application overall. So these 2 weeks are going to function a little differently. So this is going to be more self-organized. You're going to have more say in how you want to accomplish the work and what even the work that you want to accomplish is. Because so far it's largely just been us telling you this is what the app should do, or this is what it should look like, now go do it. For the next 2 weeks, y'all are actually going to be given the task of coming up with the question of what should it look like what is the goal, right? And once you've come up with those goals, part of the work here is going to be to write some more stories. So guess what? That was actually foreshadowing. You are going to be writing stories. Insofar as we actually already have another issue, which like arguably is relevant to the design and usability of the application, you've sort of already started this process. So good job. So, as always, lean on your mentors if you need guidance or are unsure on how to proceed. There's definitely going to be some gaps, I think, in the process. And, I'm sure that Mike and Lauren and I have worked, with designers and other things like that. And we've maybe got some ideas that we can share with you on how to go about these issues. If we've got a little bit of extra time, I actually might editorialize and suggest some potential processes that you could try.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape time-wise.
Sweet. I think I'll start by going through like the design process that's called out here. And then I want to call out like one or two other things that I think could be beneficial that I've also done in my job. So the first bit is we should try to come up with a tone for the app that we're trying to convey here. It does seem like there's sort of a little bit of a tone already that we're sort of being prescribed from the ticket, right? Which is we want it to be professional and we want it to be welcoming. But there's other kind of tone words that you might feel like would be fun to kind of inspire the design and give you like a direction to move in. Words like fun or clean or ironic or businesslike. Those are all different sort of tones that you could think of like a website that looks like this association in your mind, like if I think of a businesslike website, I'm probably going to think of like, I don't know, my bank's application or like LinkedIn or something like that. And that's very different than an app like say Snapchat, which is maybe more like sassy or ironic or whatever, like apps kind of have different personalities. And the first step is basically going to be figuring out what that personality is for yourselves. So once you've got that established, we want you to create a mood board. And there's a few links out to some articles here on what mood boards are. But it's basically just like a collection of pieces of inspiration or things that sort of like to you match with the mood and tone of the application you're trying to go for. Here, these seem to be sort of like posters that this person is trying to idea board out. But in your cases, since you're trying to develop a website, not a poster, it might be useful to just like go find examples of websites that like fit the tone that you're trying to go for, or find examples of websites that like do the functionality that you're trying to do. Like one thing that I just did kind of as an interesting exercise before this is I went into Amazon and I looked at some of my wish lists and I looked at the UI for those wish lists because that's really a kind of like fundamentally similar thing to the product that you're building, right? Which is like a list of products that you're purchasing, So get inspiration, get inspired, and cobble this stuff together into a location where you can then share it with the rest of the team and kind of hopefully get on the same page in terms of your inspiration. So once you've kind of got the tone and the mood set and got some inspiration ready to go, the first real fundamental decision that you're going to need to make are going to be some of the design elements. So things like typography, choosing a font, for example, choosing, like how big and sort of like what styles that you want in terms of the typography and like the layout of the typography. You're also going to want to think about the colors of the app. We've already had some talk about color accessibility and color contrast and things like that. But there's also other things to think about in terms of color too, like from a design perspective, using like color triads or complementary colors. Like if any of you have taken, an art class or anything like that in the past, that kind of knowledge is going to be potentially helpful for you here. But there's also like basically open source color palettes that you can look for out there and just find a color palette that you like and then just use those colors, for example. And another piece is the iconography or the imagery that your app uses. So right now, I think we have some emoji in the app. So you do have some icons in there already, right? But there are tons of different icon choices out there. Maybe you do want to stick with emoji. I've seen plenty of great websites that do just use emoji as their iconography. But there's other stuff out there too, like I know Material UI, which is one of the libraries that we'll talk about down here, has their own like full set of icons and stuff that you can use. There's all kinds of like sprite sheets and stuff out there. And this even has a link here to a site where you can just find free and open source icons that you can download. This is like a different collection of them. So feel free to, peruse through that stuff. So once you know, as a group have kind of gotten together, thrown out some ideas and kind of narrowed it down to, okay, here are the fonts and colors and iconography that we want to use. From there, it would be a good idea to decide on if you want to use a CSS framework or to code your CSS from scratch. Pretty much what you've got today already qualifies as being coded from scratch, and you could totally just keep moving in that direction and kind of make incremental improvements to what you've got. But another option, which you may choose to pursue, would be to incorporate a framework of some kind. So something like Twitter Bootstrap or Google's Material UI, or some of the other options that we've got listed here, like Semantic or Chakra. They're just basically like pre-packaged sets of components and prescriptions about like, here's how the app should work, that you can then use to your advantage to sort of rebuild and reframe your website and kind of ease the design burden on yourselves and make it more of an engineering problem of how do I incorporate this library rather than like, how do I build a beautiful web page, you know? But again, totally optional. It's really gonna be up to y'all on what you wanna do. So those are some of the high level design process things that we want you to be thinking about. I'll pause here for questions if y'all have any, but I've also got a few other strategies that I can share with you too that I found helpful in the past. Okay, so something else that I think would be pretty useful to come up with the design of the application is to come up with what is called like a wireframe or a skeleton for the application. That's a pretty common like first design task when you really want to put pencil to paper and start generating an idea for how the thing should look, is generally thinking about how is the page itself laid out, right? So I mean, even just looking at GitHub's UI right now, we could think about like what the skeleton of this page is, right? Like we have a header bar, we have another header here that's divided up into tabs with some buttons. And then there is a columnar layout in the middle that has its own title and some buttons. And then that further breaks into a 2-column layout where we have a leftmost bar with the content. And then on the right side, we have some additional metadata about the content, such as labels, assignees, et cetera. You've also got a bunch of data in your application and you've got to make some decisions about how you want to lay it out. Right now, I think we've got basically like a single columnar layout that incorporates all the content. And then at the bottom, we've got a couple of different buttons for navigating. All of that is subject to change, right? Like you can move all that stuff around, reorganize it. You know, don't be afraid to think big and kind of shift the fundamental structure of the application. On the other hand, though, at the same time, don't feel like you've got to like change the entire world either. You know, these are some big things that we're asking of you. And it may even be the case that you'll come up with designs that are cool and really you'd love to do them, but in the end, they might take more than like 2 weeks to accomplish. So I definitely like encourage you to kind of think small and like build out from where you've got. But at the same time, you know, don't be afraid to take big swings and make some big cool improvements to the app. So let's see, skeletoning out like a wireframe is a good place to start. And then I think one thing that I've found to be really fun and useful when it comes to actually trying to come up with the visual design for a given component or page is to just do like a brainstorming session where you could get like all 4 of you together, for example, and then just say like, okay, we want to pick a specific problem within the app we want to solve. Let's say that we're building GitHub's UI, for example. I could say like, let's do a brainstorming session on just the header, for example, and then give everybody like 5 minutes in the group to then on paper or using you know, Figma or whatever other like software tools that you want, just come up with some like rough designs of like how you would lay something out, what you think it looks like, and just kind of go wild basically. At the end of those 5 minutes, as a group, come back together and show off to each other like what did you make, and talk about your ideas behind your concepts and stuff like that. And you're also going to get ideas from talking to each other about that, right? Like you're going to get inspired from looking at what everyone else is thinking of. And then after that, do one more 5-minute session to basically give everyone a chance to update their designs, tweak them, incorporate ideas that they liked from other things, or maybe expand on their ideas further. And then after that's done, get back together, kind of give a presentation on what you did. And then at the end, try and synthesize it down into, okay, here are the things we like, the things we want to keep. Here are the things that we either don't want to keep or might be too hard. And then from there, generate tickets to basically be like, okay, you know, this is one concrete chunk of work to improve the header or to add this thing to the header or whatever. And then from there, y'all can, you know, basically decide who wants to take on that work and divide it up and conquer. So yeah, so designing, design brainstorming, design sprints, that kind of thing, and wireframing are like my two other additional little suggestions here. But those are totally optional suggestions too. At the end of the day, y'all should just kind of choose whatever works for you and discover the process as you walk it. So that's issue 13 here. And again, I'll pause if we've got any questions on this one. It might also be good for us to talk about 14 too while we're here though. All right, I'm not hearing any questions. So real quick, before we break, I just want to remind you that Brittany filed this issue, which is to add a loading message or a loading state instead of the empty message whenever the data is still being loaded in. And to me, this totally seems relevant to the design and usability of the app. So if y'all want to take on this as part of the last 2 weeks of work, that also totally seems in scope to me. So I think one thing I was curious about to get Lauren, your perspective on is, as part of the next 2 weeks, when it comes to actually implementing the work, should the group continue to work as pairs, or should people take on individual tasks, or should they even do like mob programming with like multiple people together? Any thoughts on that?
I think different groups have handled it differently. I've seen some teams have like a really strong design member of their team already, and that person tended to own the design process. They would work together to kind of break down the tasks. And then sometimes there was even like a project manager, right? So that person would be creating all the tasks, and people would pick up stories as they were able, and you were really more working on your own and like getting approval and consensus together. In other groups, they've really like worked together, but not necessarily, I haven't seen as many groups work together like pair and pair. But that's totally, this is really up to the group, how you would best like how do you think it would work best for the team for what your schedules are like right now too. It's totally up to the team. I think that's part of the challenge of this. It's part of the challenge of this task too, is that there are a lot more decisions to be made, right? That's kind of one of the biggest challenges, I think, of this task.
Makes sense to me. One thing that I would suggest, I think, in terms of how to begin consuming this work, I think there's certain pieces of this that everyone could maybe take on as kind of like homework items to just sort of like do before the next time you come together, like thinking about the mood or thinking about the pulling together images for inspiration from the mood board. Like, I think those are probably all things you could like individually do, and then come together in a meeting, which you know, feel free to schedule that whenever. And then just like talk about those inspirations together, and then maybe do what Lauren said of like kind of come up with different people who want to fill the different roles that we were talking about, and then, you know, from there basically just keep organizing, keep creating meetings, or organizing synchronously in whatever fashion works for y'all.
I actually was gonna see what everyone thought about doing something like what you're recommending, Chris, which is, you know, maybe individually go through and kind of look into some of these things and then figure out a good time to meet, and then kind of share what we found and go through some of the suggestions that we've got. Does that sound good, or does anyone have any?
That idea.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Same.
Okay, awesome.
Sweet. All right. Well, that's our issue read this week. So best of luck, y'all.
Nice. This is really the fun part of the project. It's really, really fun. Like your app is great. It works. It does all the things that it's supposed to do. Now you get to have fun. Like you don't have to produce the world's greatest shopping list, right? Go for credible. Go for credible. Make it look polished and nice. And if the design part feels intimidating, it's okay. Just go for credible. If it doesn't feel intimidating and that's your thing, then great. That's super awesome. Don't be scared. This is the fun part. Nice. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Don't hesitate to reach out for help. I'm doing office hours this week, so I'm excited to talk to you and see how things are going. Yeah, have a great week.
Nice.
Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
later, y'all.
Bye, everyone.